before we start, I just want to ask, are there any mothers here who brought their daughters or sons? Please stand up. What's your name? Mom. Can we all give a round of applause to Mom?
Yeah.
The coolest mom for bringing her son or daughter here. Happy Mother's Day.
Well, and Amy, you've got your family here too, and you're a mom, so happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. Mother's Day all around. Well, all right, so today we had a really big, great panel yesterday. I wanted to talk today a little bit about some of the outside work you guys have been doing, some of the other projects. You guys obviously have all worked on My Little Pony, and some of you are still working on My Little Pony, can't talk about it, but some of your outside projects and your general approach towards how you work on those projects. Because I think a lot of people in the room here today, several of them at least, are going to be, can I get a raise of hands? How many people here are aspiring fan fiction authors or writers in general? Yeah. So I think a lot of people here are fascinated by your process. Like, do you take a general philosophy towards all the work you do, or how you go about it? So I guess I wanted to throw it to the group, and I'll start with you, Cindy. I'll put you on the spot. When you are given, a contract or a job to write a script, what is the first step you take? What is your approach towards getting that process going?
Wait, after I get the contract or before I get the contract? Because there's a lot of steps before you get the contract too.
Well, what sorts of steps beforehand then?
Well, we all do it differently. I don't have an agent. I think maybe some of you may. I don't have one, so I sort of rely on my relationships with people in the industry. I think it's really important to keep in touch with people you've worked with in the past, and keep reminding them that you're available for work or you're interested in the projects that they're doing. Meet for lunch. There's a lot of that that I try to do. As well as, always make an effort to help other people out too. So if I hear about jobs, I always will put it out there to my friends. Hey, if you're interested, I heard that there's this background painting job that's opening up on so-and-so's show. But one thing I do want to touch upon that we kind of just for a second talked about is that even when you're an aspiring writer, there's much more to writing than just this or this. And I think, something we might want to talk about today, if you guys don't mind, is diversity. And making sure that you just aren't holed up in your room in front of a computer practicing being a writer. I think there's so much more to being a career person, a lot of people skills, a lot of, social networking, also a lot of other creative outlets. I'd love to hear what you guys do besides just writing. I know I'm an artist, and that was my career before. I was also a musician, so I've written music for, I did some music, I think, for Samurai Jack, and I've done some art, for Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's, and so I really try to go beyond just writing to make sure that I'm a balanced individual. And I also really work on my social skills to make sure that I can take criticism, or I can work well with people who might be difficult sometimes. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think along those lines, in addition to having other creative outlets, also having other things to write about. Like, you want to travel, you want to read a diverse range of subject matter, or just have other interests that might have nothing to do particularly with writing, but that just make you a more interesting person, but it's things that you can bring to your writing. So I do love to travel and read about, the voice of God. Read about different historical mythologies or historical facts, and things like that do work themselves into your writing sometimes. Wow. Now it's too much, yeah. Wow. How about that? Better? Yeah. So yeah, not just practicing, writing isn't typing, and believe it or not, there are people in the industry, including agents, that don't seem to understand that. It's like we don't type it's not how many words per minute you can type that makes you a writer. I once had an argument with a spirited, friendly argument with an agent about how, I guess some copywriters get paid by the word in journalism or other fields. And I'd say, we don't get paid by the word, we don't get paid by the page, how long, because I said to him, how much is the word Jedi worth to you? It's 4 letters. $2-3 billion? It was like, really, so it's not, writing is a very different thing. And that's getting off topic in terms of
What price tag would you put on the word "the"?
I'm sorry?
What price tag would you put on the word "the"?
But like anything else, you do need to practice. Like, and I was going to throw to Amy, who was playing ukulele for us yesterday, that someone came up and asked, how do you get better at writing, and how do you get better at being an athlete or a musician, or, if you're trying to learn how to do cartwheels or whatever, you got to practice doing it. And how did you learn how to play the ukulele?
I've been practicing.
You've been practicing it.
Yeah.
I think also it's just kind of like going with the flow for what happens. For me, I didn't intend to write books at all. I went to film school at NYU, and I studied film and television production with a minor in screenwriting for television. So I really wanted to be a television writer. And I was working after graduation on a TV show called Law & Order, and I was sitting at my desk, and I was thinking, I really want to be a writer. What am I doing? I'm sitting here, like, answering the phone and, like, ordering supplies for the set, and it was cool, definitely. But I thought, why am I not writing anything? I need to start right away. And that night, I went home. I started writing a spec script for a well-known TV show because I was going to try and get an agent. I was like, I need an agent. I had all these friends that were doing amazing things, like a month out of graduation. They all had agents. One of my best friends started writing for Jimmy Fallon, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. And then I started writing, and I told my friend about it, and she had an opportunity come up at her work. And she said, we really need someone to work on this book. Would you want to try that? And so I tried out. I wrote up a little audition piece, if you will, and they decided to try me out. But it was only an outline, and I did that for a long time. So I would be commissioned to do outlines, and then another writer would take my outline and write the book, which was always weird to see how someone else interpreted my outline. And eventually, they started asking me to do revisions on the books that other people wrote of my outline to punch it up, and I was like, okay. And then they started asking me to write the actual books, which was really cool. And so that's kind of...
Your fan fiction is published.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so I didn't really mean to become an author of books, although I absolutely love books, and I grew up as an avid reader, but just kind of happened that way, and I think it's pretty cool.
Very cool.
So, who knows what's next?
Well, when you do your writing, do you ever, do you have anybody that okay, I imagine you guys have done writing, outside of the professional realm, writing for yourself, sort of, When you've done that writing, do you ever send that to, say, a friend to have them look at it to get an objective opinion? Because I know, I have a few friends in the community who are fan fiction authors, and they tell me one of the most crucial steps for them, and some of them are very successful, is that they have editors that they send it to take a look at it and get that objective opinion on it. Do you guys do the same sort of thing?
I send it to my mom. I actually do. Yeah, she's here today. She's right there. Yeah, she actually it always annoys me too because I know she's trying to help, but she's always like, oh, there's a comma missing right here on page 23.
Yeah.
And she'll go through.
That's the worst
I know.
criticism you get
And then I'll be like, that's not what I meant. How does it sound? Like, come on. But yeah, I think it is important to have somebody else look at it. I like to have someone else look at it before I send it to my editor because, you can miss some major things, actually, and I often do. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I don't give them pony scripts, but I will spitball if I'm stumped on a pony situation, I'll be like, I don't know what Applejack's doing here, and should Applejack do this? I'll just kind of, talk out loud about it just so I can, bounce it around the room and see if I can figure it out. But it's more when I have my own ideas and once I feel like it's in a good place before I'm gonna go in and pitch it to somebody else. I want somebody else to look at it because, one, for spelling errors, one, to just make sure that I have covered everything and it's clear and that I haven't, made a big
It's
mush of
interesting
it.
since you came from an acting background, and so you'd be more external about it, and I'd be, wordless,
Right.
And I guess my question, like, when I look at how I write with very strict, I have an outline, like you were talking about, and then I go and I fill in the different sections, edit some more until it's absolutely perfect, and then move on very mechanically. And I imagine that isn't so conducive to, say, creative style writing. But
I don't know, that sounds like exactly what I do. And not everybody does, but I'm a strong believer in outlines, and if you, whether you're writing fan fiction, whether you're writing specs, whatever you're doing, novel, don't just start writing from page one and kind of see where it goes. That's how people end up with 500 pages that don't go anywhere. And it doesn't mean that you're limiting your creativity. I joke with people, I went to Montessori school and I need a structure to be chaotic within. And that's what an outline gives you. It's just, it's the beginning, middle, and end. And if you've done outlines, back in grade school with the Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, it's exactly that, except it's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And those are where your commercial breaks are, and what exactly has to happen to each character. It's not, in outline form, it's not as, how do I put this? It's not as critical that you get every last little detail in. It's really, you can do it as bullet points, this so-and-so. What has to have happened by the end of this scene? These two characters are now on each other's nerves. By this point, it's escalated to the point where they're not speaking to each other. Whatever it is, at this point, they're starting to patch things up. And that's a terrible example, but I'm just thinking more of look before you sleep. But anyway. But once you've got a good, solid outline, whether it's just bullet points like that, broken up into Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, we tell our writers, and I'll tell you right now, to take your approved outline, copy and paste it out of Word into the final draft program, and reformat it as a script. If you'd come up with any ideas for dialogue, if you have anything, reformat it as a script, and before you know it, you've already got 12 pages of your 22-page script, and it's really good for morale. You're not looking at a blank page going, okay, fade in, what the heck happens? It's going back, and kind of what you were saying is work on the teaser, if that's, or skip ahead if you have ideas for what happens in the second act. You don't have to write it. You don't have to fill in the outline in order. Once you've got the outline in screenplay format, you can add in dialogue here and there. You can write the ending first. You can fill in whatever you want.
Yeah, I always write the songs last because I think they're distracting when I'm on a flow. I'll just write song here, and then I'll just keep moving on. And I know that I'm going to come back and work on the song separately.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I actually last.
the songs are distracting, and they totally halt what I'm writing, and I stop and I actually write them because I'm like, I've got to write this song.
Get it out of the way first.
Yeah, I get it out of the way. But it's interesting with the outlines. When I wrote plays, every playwriting class I took said, we're not going to worry about structure here. We're just going to write. And I was like,
As if
okay.
it's creative freedom. To
Right.
just be,
So
"Whoa."
all of my plays are kind of loosey-goosey, and and if you read them, you'd be like, whoa, there's not any real structure here, because I was never taught structure in my plays. And then I started writing scripts, and we started outlining, and I was like, finally, I'm learning structure. So I learned structure when I was being paid professionally. Like, okay, that works too. So
But being structured allows you freedom.
yes, absolutely.
Because when there's holes in a story, there's nothing worse
Yes.
than feeling like you can't have more freedom because you know the story's bad.
Yeah.
Well, so I just had a question on world building. Do you have any tips on it?
Well, just like you were just touching upon with Lauren, rules and parameters are really important. They help structure. Same thing with like characters, rules and structure for characters too. Anytime you set those parameters, then it really gives you a lot of freedom. So I don't think it's necessarily always smart to just have open-endedness where anything can happen. It's good to give yourself some limitations within a world.
Yes.
I was curious to the fact that if either Snowflake was originally written into the show or was more of a storyboard joke.
Yeah, that was actually an episode that I wrote, I think, right? Hurricane Fluttershy. That was not written in the script. It was like a pony walla, and then I think maybe a voice actor might have gone nutso with it. Because I don't know how it works at DHX Media, but when I was at Cartoon Network, you always recorded the voices.
Before you storyboard.
Yes. If it was scripted.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that some voice actor went nutty nuts and did that voice, and then the storyboard artist made magic happen based off the voice.
My question is for Ms. Burrow. My Little Pony has always been praised, and one of the best aspects of it is the visuals, how great it looks, and just everything. They're just blown away by the visuals. And even in the comic, it's a very visual art form. Can you talk about maybe the challenges and unique opportunities with taking something that is so well known for being visually based to something that is purely text?
It's a good question.
That question's for me or you? You. Who?
I think it
For
was
me, right?
For Ms.
Oh,
Burrow,
okay.
not Murrow, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I often, when I'm working on the books, I will picture it as an episode in my head, because that's generally what I'm trying to do, is to emulate the show, make it as much like a script as I can while being in prose format. I literally write the theme song, I insert the theme song into the portion where I think would be after the teaser, which is maybe like first chapter or second chapter because they're so short. And I do that because I'm trying to make it an episode of the show. And, I think I also often refer to visuals. I'll watch an episode in between, so I have that in my mind. And I often have to look up what Sugar Cube Corner looks like. So, I'll bring up pictures all the time and look at it. Make sure that I say the door is pink if it's, pink instead of purple. It's those little details I really want to get right, because it's important to everybody, and including myself. And I think it is a challenge, though. Sometimes, if I'm describing a new pony that comes in, I'm just like, oh, she's pink and has a green mane, and it starts to sound a little weird, but you need that because I do lack the, animation as the final step of it. But I think, yeah, I just try to pretend like it is going to be turned into an episode and hope it all works out.
Do you
So-
find that when you're writing for when you wrote the novels, that you had to use more adjectives than you would for other kinds of writing just because it is a cartoon? So maybe more use of colors, more descriptions in that sense?
No, I think it's bad to put too many adjectives in, and I think the people that are reading it also will fill in the blanks with what things look like, and you don't have to name the color of everything, but if you give a general idea of, everything is green and lush because it's summertime or it's a beautiful day, I'll have a little bit, but I don't want to overdo it, and my editor would be really upset about that too. So, and she just
Focus on the characters.
yeah,
just like we do on the show.
exactly. And one of the most important things still is dialogue. So as long as that's in place, I think you'll get an idea of what should be going on. Because you know how the characters move and how they act, and so.